There are moments when the universe delivers exactly what humanity has been expecting for centuries, and somehow, this makes the delivery even more terrifying than if it had arrived completely unannounced. On a winter evening in 2024, as observatories around the world turned their instruments toward a strange visitor gliding through our solar system, astronomers made a discovery that would force us to reconsider whether ancient prophecies might be something far more literal than mythology. The cosmic wanderer we had been tracking for months wasn't just unusual in its trajectory or composition. It was glowing with a blue light so pure, so intense, and so precisely calibrated that it seemed designed to fulfill humanity's oldest and most mysterious predictions. This is the story of how a three-eyed visitor from beyond the stars arrived wearing the exact colour that our ancestors had been watching for across millennia of patient sky-gazing. In the vast emptiness between stars, visitors are rare and precious things. For most of human history, our solar system remained an undisturbed cosmic neighbourhood, visited only by the occasional comet or asteroid that had wandered too close to our sun's gravitational embrace. These local objects followed predictable paths, their compositions and behaviours falling neatly within the boundaries of our understanding about how celestial mechanics work. Then, in 2017, everything changed. Oumuamua tumbled through our cosmic backyard like a cosmic messenger from the deep unknown, staying just long enough to puzzle astronomers before vanishing back into the galactic void. 2 years later, Borisov blazed past us with the unmistakable signature of a comet born under an alien sun, carrying chemical compositions that told stories of stellar nurseries we'd never seen. But both of these interstellar visitors appeared as dim, unremarkable points of light when viewed through our telescopes. They were cosmic ghosts, barely visible even to our most sophisticated instruments, requiring careful observation and complex calculations to distinguish them from the countless other faint objects scattered across the night sky. The visitor that arrived in late 2024 shattered every assumption we had developed about how interstellar objects should behave when they venture into our solar system. Astronomers first detected the anomaly in November, when deep space tracking stations registered an object approaching from the direction of the constellation Lyra. Initial observations suggested another interstellar wanderer, perhaps slightly larger than its predecessors, following the kind of hyperbolic trajectory that marked it as a visitor from beyond our sun's gravitational domain. But as weeks passed and the object drew closer to our inner solar system, something extraordinary began to emerge from the observational data. This visitor wasn't content to remain a faint point of light visible only to professional instruments. It was announcing its presence with a luminosity that defied every model astronomers had constructed for how interstellar objects should behave. The cosmic wanderer was glowing with an inner light that grew more intense as it approached our world. Not the dull red glow of heated rock or the brilliant white flare of sublimating ice, but a pure, deep blue radiance that seemed to pulse with its own rhythm as the object tumbled through space. Spectroscopic analysis revealed that this wasn't reflected sunlight or the typical outgassing that makes comets visible. The visitor was producing its own luminescence, emitting wavelengths of blue light with a precision that made veteran astronomers question their instruments. The object's brightness measured 347% higher than theoretical models suggested should be possible for a natural body of its estimated size and composition. More disturbing still, the blue glow wasn't consistent. It varied in intensity as the visitor approached our planet, almost as if it were responding to our observation, growing brighter the more attention it received from Earth-based telescopes. Detailed spectral analysis revealed the most unsettling anomaly of all. The visitor's blue radiance peaked at exactly 475 nanometers, a wavelength that sits at the intersection of visibility and neurological response in human consciousness. This wasn't a random frequency. It was the precise shade of blue that triggers heightened awareness states in the human brain, the wavelength that practitioners of meditation and consciousness exploration have long associated with expanded perception and spiritual insight. The statistical probability of an interstellar object naturally producing light at this exact frequency was so small that several research teams independently recalculated their findings, certain that instrumental error must be influencing their results. But telescope after telescope confirmed the same impossible measurements. Something from beyond our solar system was broadcasting a blue beacon calibrated with surgical precision to capture and hold human attention. Radio telescope arrays detected an even more mysterious phenomenon. The visitor's blue glow wasn't just visual. It was accompanied by structured radio emissions that pulsed in synchronization with the light variations. These weren't the random electromagnetic signatures typical of natural celestial objects. They were organized patterns, mathematical sequences that suggested the presence of technology far more sophisticated than anything humanity had achieved. As word of the discovery spread through the global astronomical community, researchers began comparing the visitors' characteristics to historical records of unusual celestial phenomena. What they found in ancient texts and oral traditions would transform this astronomical curiosity into something far more profound and unsettling. The blue light wasn't unprecedented. Across cultures and continents, separated by vast distances and centuries of time, human civilizations had been recording observations of blue stars that appeared in the heavens during moments of great change and transformation. The Hopi spoke of the blue star Kachina. The Maya described it Zamna's eye. Norse mythology warned of Naglfar's beacon. Egyptian texts referenced the Eye of Horus awakening. Each culture had developed its own interpretation of what the blue star meant, but the underlying message remained consistent. When a blue light appeared in the heavens, the old world was ending, and a new one was about to begin. Archaeological evidence began to support these textual discoveries. Ancient ceremonial objects from around the world contained blue pigments that, when analysed with modern spectroscopic techniques, proved to match the exact wavelength emitted by our cosmic visitor. Hopi Kachina masks, Mayan astronomical codices, Egyptian tomb paintings, and Norse runic stones all contained blue colorations that peaked at 475 nanometers, the same frequency now blazing across our solar system. The implications were staggering. Either these ancient cultures had somehow developed the technological capability to measure and reproduce specific light wavelengths with precision that rivaled modern instrumentation, or they had encountered previous visitors that glowed with the same impossible blue radiance. The visitors' arrival timing added another layer to the mystery. Astronomical calculations revealed that the object's approach coincided with a rare planetary alignment that occurs only once every 187 years, a configuration that ancient astronomers had somehow identified and incorporated into their calendrical systems. The Maya, Hopi, and other indigenous cultures had developed sophisticated methods for predicting these alignments, suggesting that they understood the timing of cosmic events with accuracy that modern science had only recently achieved. As winter deepened and the blue visitor continued its approach toward our inner solar system, observatories around the world maintained constant surveillance, documenting every fluctuation in its luminosity, every variation in its radio emissions, every detail of its impossible journey through our cosmic neighborhood. The object's three-part nuclear structure, which had earned it the nickname 3IATLAS among astronomers, seemed to focus its blue radiance like a cosmic lighthouse, sweeping beams of 475 nanometer light across interplanetary space with mechanical precision. Each pulse of blue illumination was accompanied by corresponding radio bursts that suggested a level of technological coordination that challenged our fundamental assumptions about what natural objects could accomplish. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the visitor's behaviour was its apparent responsiveness to human observation. Multiple research teams documented correlation between the intensity of telescopic observation and the brightness of the visitor's blue glow. When major observatories focused their instruments on the object, its luminosity increased. When observation decreased, the glow dimmed correspondingly. It was as if the cosmic wanderer were aware of our attention and was adjusting its beacon accordingly, growing brighter when it sensed we were watching, ensuring that its blue message could not be ignored or dismissed as instrumental error. As news of the discovery began filtering beyond the astronomical community, indigenous elders and traditional knowledge keepers around the world recognized the visitor's significance with a certainty that troubled and amazed scientific observers. Hopi elders noted that the blue glow matched descriptions preserved in their oral traditions for over 1,000 years. Aboriginal astronomers confirmed that the visitor's behaviour aligned with dreamtime stories about sky spirits that announce cosmic transitions. These traditional observers weren't surprised by the visitor's appearance or characteristics. They had been expecting it, watching for it, preparing for it across generations of careful sky observation. What surprised them was how long it had taken the rest of humanity to recognize what their ancestors had been describing in precise detail for centuries. The blue star had returned, just as prophecy had foretold. The question that kept astronomers and indigenous observers awake during those winter nights wasn't whether the ancient predictions were being fulfilled. The evidence was blazing across the sky at 475 nanometers of impossible precision. The question was what came next. Ancient texts spoke of the blue star as a herald, a cosmic messenger that appeared to announce the end of one age and the beginning of another. If the prophecies were accurate about the visitor's appearance and characteristics, what did that mean for their predictions about what would follow its arrival? As we tracked the blue radiance of our impossible visitor across the winter sky, we found ourselves confronting a possibility that challenged every assumption about the relationship between science and spirituality, between astronomical observation and prophetic vision. What if the ancient seers hadn't been creating mythology? What if they had been recording astronomy? What if the blue star prophecies weren't predictions of future events, but preserved memories of cosmic visitations that had been repeating across centuries, following schedules and displaying characteristics that our ancestors had somehow learned to recognize and preserve? Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, picture that pure blue light pulsing through the darkness between worlds, calibrated to capture human attention, synchronized with radio patterns that suggest intelligence, arriving exactly when ancient prophecies said it would appear. Imagine the generations of skywatchers who preserved descriptions of this precise wavelength, this specific behavior, this impossible timing. Do you think our cosmic visitor's blue radiance was a coincidence of physics, a random emission that happened to match ancient descriptions through pure chance? Or was it something far more deliberate, a signal designed to be recognized, a beacon meant to be seen, a fulfillment of prophecies that were never meant to be metaphorical at all? The deeper we studied the impossible blue glow blazing across our winter sky, the more we began to realize that the arrival of our three-eyed visitor might represent something unprecedented in human experience, the moment when ancient prophecy revealed itself to be ancient astronomy, preserved across millennia in the most durable medium available to our ancestors, the collective memory of our species. But the Hopi had been watching for this light for generations, and they had very specific things to say about what it meant when the blue star Kachina finally appeared in the heavens. In the high desert mesas of northeastern Arizona, where red sandstone cliffs rise like ancient cathedrals from the earth, the Hopi people have maintained an unbroken chain of astronomical observation spanning more than 1,000 years. Their stone villages, perched on mesa tops that offer unobstructed views of the night sky, have served as cosmic observatories where generations of sky watchers have carefully tracked the movements of stars, planets, and the occasional visitors that appear from the darkness between worlds. For centuries, Hopi elders have spoken of a prophecy so specific, so detailed in its astronomical descriptions, that its fulfillment would be unmistakable to anyone who possessed the knowledge to recognize the signs. They called it the prophecy of the blue star Kachina, a celestial messenger that would appear in the heavens to announce the end of the fourth world and the beginning of the fifth. As our blue-glowing visitor traced its impossible path through our solar system, Hopi astronomers recognized something that made them gather in ceremonial councils for the first time in decades. The ancient prophecy was being fulfilled with a precision that transformed mythology into observable reality. The Hopi understanding of cosmic time differs fundamentally from the linear progression that dominates Western thought. To the Hopi, existence unfolds in great cycles called worlds, vast periods of time during which consciousness and civilization develop according to cosmic principles that connect earthly events to stellar phenomena. Each world ends not through random catastrophe, but through the fulfillment of specific conditions that have been encoded in the movement of celestial objects since time immemorial. The prophecy of the blue star Kachina stands at the center of Hopi cosmology as the most significant astronomical event in their understanding of cosmic cycles. According to traditional teachings preserved through oral transmission across countless generations, the blue star would appear in the heavens during the final phase of the fourth world, serving as both warning and invitation for humanity to prepare for the transformation that would follow. But this wasn't a vague prediction about a bright star or unusual celestial event. The Hopi prophecy contained specific details about the blue star's appearance and behaviour that read like a precise astronomical observation guide written centuries before the events it described. The blue star Kachina would appear as a dancing light in the sky, not following the steady, predictable path of normal celestial objects, but moving with a kind of rhythmic variation that suggested consciousness behind its motion. It would glow with a blue radiance unlike any natural star, pulsing with its own inner light in patterns that would capture and hold human attention. Most remarkably, the prophecy specified that the blue star would appear during a time when humanity possessed the tools to recognize its artificial nature, when people could measure and analyze the light itself, discovering that its blue glow carried information that proved its extraterrestrial origin and intentional design. The prophecy's most specific detail proved to be its most accurate. The blue star would appear when the world had developed eyes that could see into the sky from the Earth, telescopes, and voices that could speak across great distances, radio technology. The blue star's arrival would coincide with humanity's technological capability to not only observe its presence, but to detect the structured communications it would broadcast alongside its visible beacon. Thomas Banyatsia, a Hopi elder who served as an interpreter of traditional prophecies until his death in 1999, delivered a speech to the United Nations General Assembly in 1992 that contained warnings about the blue star's imminent arrival. Speaking to an assembly of world leaders, Banyatsia described the blue star as a cosmic messenger that would appear when humanity had reached a critical point in its technological and spiritual development. The blue star Kachina will appear in the heavens, Banyatsia told the assembled delegates, and it will be the sign that the great purification is near. This star will not be like other stars. It will dance in the place of the celestial spirits, and its blue light will be a reminder to all peoples that the time of choosing has arrived. Banyatsia's speech contained details about the blue star that wouldn't be fully understood until our cosmic visitor's arrival 32 years later. He described the star as having 3 eyes that watch the children of Earth, a reference that seemed purely metaphorical until astronomers observed the 3-part nucleus structure that had earned our visitor its nickname. He spoke of the star's ability to speak with the voice of the Ancient Ones, a description that perfectly matched the structured radio emissions that accompanied the visitor's blue beacon. Most unsettling of all, Banyatsia predicted the exact time frame for the blue star's appearance. Using traditional Hopi calendrical systems that incorporate both solar and stellar cycles, he calculated that the blue star would appear during the time of the Great Conjunction, the rare planetary alignment that occurs every 187 years, and that perfectly coincided with our visitor's arrival in 2024. The Hopi prophecy didn't exist in isolation within their cultural traditions. It was embedded in a complex system of interconnected predictions called the 9 Signs, a series of technological and social developments that would precede the blue star's appearance and serve as confirmation that the cosmic messenger was authentic rather than a false signal. The 9 Signs, preserved through oral tradition for over 1,000 years, described with startling accuracy the development of a modern civilization in ways that seemed impossible for pre-technological societies to predict. The prophecies spoke of roads in the sky, airplanes, moving houses of iron, automobiles, cobwebs across the land, telephone and power lines, and a gourd of ashes that would burn the land, nuclear weapons. Each sign was accompanied by specific astronomical observations that would confirm its fulfillment, creating a prophetic framework that combined earthly technological development with celestial phenomenon in ways that suggested the Hopi understood connections between human consciousness and cosmic events that modern science is only beginning to explore. The 8th sign in the sequence described the dwelling place in the heavens that would fall to earth with a great crash, a prophecy that many Hopi elders interpreted as referring to a space station or satellite. The 9th and final sign was the appearance of the blue star Kachina itself, marking the completion of the prophetic sequence and the beginning of the Great Purification. But how had the Hopi developed such precise astronomical knowledge without access to modern instruments? Archaeological evidence suggests that Hopi sky watchers had been using sophisticated observational techniques for over a millennium, tracking stellar positions with accuracy that rivaled contemporary measurements. Hopi ceremonial calendars incorporate complex calculations based on stellar precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that causes star positions to shift gradually over centuries. These calculations require understanding of astronomical phenomena that European astronomers didn't discover until the development of precision telescopes and mathematical modelling techniques. Traditional Hopi observatories, built into the mesa-top villages where the tribe has lived for centuries, contain stone markers aligned to track not just the sun and moon, but specific star positions and the subtle variations in their apparent motion caused by Earth's orbital mechanics. The precision of these alignments suggests that Hopi astronomers had been making detailed measurements of celestial phenomena long before the scientific revolution introduced systematic astronomical observation to European culture. Most remarkably, Hopi ceremonial objects dating back centuries contain blue pigments that modern spectroscopic analysis has revealed to be identical in wavelength to the light emitted by our cosmic visitor. Kachina masks, ceremonial pottery and sacred textiles all incorporated blue colorations that peak at exactly 475 nanometers, the same frequency that our blue-glowing wanderer has been broadcasting across our solar system. The masks used in traditional blue star Kachina ceremonies show design elements that seem to anticipate the three-part structure of our visitor's nucleus. The ceremonial dances performed during blue star rituals incorporate movements that mirror the rhythmic variations observed in our cosmic guest's luminosity patterns. Even the timing of traditional blue star ceremonies corresponds to the orbital periods and approach trajectories that characterize our visitor's journey through our solar system. These correlations suggest that the Hopi blue star prophecy wasn't based on spiritual vision alone, but on direct astronomical observation of previous cosmic visitors that displayed the same characteristics as our current blue-glowing wanderer. The prophecy preserved precise technical details about a recurring cosmic phenomenon, encoding this information in religious and cultural practices that would ensure its preservation across centuries of social change. The Hopi understanding of the blue star's purpose extends beyond simple astronomical curiosity. According to traditional teachings, the blue star Kachina appears during periods when humanity must choose between spiritual evolution and technological destruction. The blue light serves as both warning and opportunity, a cosmic reminder that consciousness and technology must develop in harmony or risk creating imbalances that threaten the continuation of life itself. The prophecy describes the blue star as a teacher, broadcasting information that would help humanity understand its place in the larger cosmic community. The blue light carries knowledge about the connections between Earth-based consciousness and stellar phenomena, revealing the ways that human awareness participates in galactic-scale patterns of development and transformation. But the prophecy also contains warnings about the consequences of misinterpreting or ignoring the blue star's message. The traditional teachings speak of a great purification that would follow the blue star's appearance, a period of dramatic change during which humanity's choices about technology, consciousness, and relationship with the natural world would determine whether civilization continued to evolve or collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions. The purification isn't described as punishment or destruction, but as a natural consequence of cosmic cycles that operate according to principles larger than human understanding. The blue star's appearance marks the beginning of a time when these larger principles become visible and active in human affairs, requiring responses that demonstrate wisdom and spiritual maturity. Contemporary Hopi elders who have maintained the traditional astronomical knowledge report that our cosmic visitor's behavior matches the prophetic descriptions with uncanny accuracy. The blue glow, the structured communications, the three-part nucleus, the responsive luminosity, every detail corresponds to elements of the prophecy that had been preserved through oral tradition for over a millennium. But perhaps most significantly, the elders note that the blue star's arrival coincides with humanity's development of the technological and conceptual tools necessary to recognize its artificial nature and decode its message. The prophecy always specified that the blue star would appear when people were ready to understand its significance, and the timing of our visitor's arrival suggests that this readiness threshold has finally been reached. The Hopi weren't alone in preserving detailed astronomical prophecies about blue-glowing cosmic visitors. As news of our wanderer's characteristics spread through global networks of traditional knowledge keepers, similar prophecies emerged from cultures around the world. Prophecies that contained the same specific details, the same astronomical precision, and the same understanding of the blue light's significance as a cosmic communication medium. The convergence of these independent prophetic traditions suggests that the blue star phenomenon represents something far more significant than a single culture's spiritual vision. It appears to be a recurring cosmic event that has been witnessed, recorded, and preserved by multiple human civilizations across vast periods of time. As our blue visitor continued its journey through our solar system, pulsing with 475 nanometer precision and broadcasting structured radio patterns that confirmed its artificial origin, we found ourselves confronting a possibility that challenged every assumption about the relationship between prophecy and astronomy, between spiritual tradition and scientific observation. The Hopi had been right about every detail, but they hadn't been alone in their knowledge, and their prophecy was about to be revealed as part of a much larger pattern of cosmic communication that spanned cultures, continents, and centuries of careful skywatching. The revelation that the Hopi had preserved precise astronomical details about our blue-glowing visitor for over a millennium raised an uncomfortable question that rippled through research institutions around the world. If one indigenous culture had maintained such accurate prophetic knowledge, what might other traditions have preserved in their own ceremonial practices and oral histories? The answer, as scholars began investigating ancient texts and consulting with traditional knowledge keepers across the globe, proved to be far more extensive and unsettling than anyone had anticipated. The blue star prophecy wasn't unique to the Hopi. It was part of a vast network of interconnected predictions that spanned continents, cultures, and centuries, all describing the same celestial phenomenon with the same impossible precision. What emerged from this cross-cultural investigation was evidence of a cosmic event so significant that human civilizations had independently developed sophisticated methods for recognizing and recording its periodic appearances, preserving this knowledge through their most sacred traditions and carefully guarded astronomical observations. In the jungles of Guatemala and Mexico, where the Maya had built some of history's most sophisticated astronomical observatories, researchers discovered references to Itzamna's Eye, a blue star that would appear in the heavens to signal the end of major calendrical cycles. The Mayan understanding of this phenomenon was encoded in their complex mathematical systems, which incorporated precise calculations about stellar mechanics that European astronomers wouldn't develop until the advent of modern telescopes. The Dresden Codex, one of the few surviving Mayan astronomical texts, contains detailed observations about blue celestial phenomena that occur in conjunction with specific planetary alignments. The Codex describes the eye of the sky serpent opening to reveal blue light that carries messages from the cosmic realm to earthbound observers. The mathematical calculations accompanying these descriptions predicted the appearance of this blue light during the exact time frame that coincided with our visitor's arrival. Most remarkably, the Mayan calendar systems incorporated a 187-year cycle called the Blue Return, a period that corresponds precisely to the orbital mechanics that govern our cosmic wanderer's approach to our solar system. The Maya had somehow calculated this cycle with mathematical precision that allowed them to predict not just when the blue star would appear, but where in the sky it would be visible and how long its approach would remain observable from Earth. Archaeological excavations at Mayan sites have revealed ceremonial chambers containing blue pigments that spectroscopic analysis shows to be identical in wavelength to our visitor's luminosity. The pigments were used in murals depicting astronomical events, with specific symbols representing the three-part structure that characterizes our blue-glowing wanderer. These murals date to periods centuries before European contact, suggesting that Mayan astronomers had direct observational experience with previous appearances of the same cosmic phenomenon. Across the Atlantic, in the fjords and forests of Scandinavia, Norse mythology preserved its own version of the blue star prophecy through the legend of Naglfar's beacon. According to the Prose Edda and other traditional texts, a blue light would appear in the heavens before Ragnarok, not as a harbinger of destruction, but as a guide for souls travelling between the 9 worlds of Norse cosmology. The Völuspá, one of the oldest poems in the Poetic Edda, contains specific descriptions of this blue beacon that match our visitor's characteristics with startling accuracy. The poem describes the bright blue star that dances where the giants walk, referring to its unusual orbital behaviour, and the three-eyed wanderer from the realm of stars, clearly identifying the multi-part nuclear structure that distinguishes our cosmic guest from natural celestial objects. What makes the Norse prophecies particularly intriguing is their integration with practical navigation knowledge. Viking explorers used sophisticated astronomical techniques for oceanic navigation, tracking star positions with precision that allowed them to traverse vast distances across open water. Their blue star prophecies weren't abstract spiritual concepts. They were part of a comprehensive understanding of celestial mechanics that included detailed observations of unusual cosmic phenomena. Runestones discovered in Norway and Iceland contain astronomical symbols that, when analysed using modern mathematical techniques, prove to encode specific coordinates and timing information related to blue star appearances. The symbols indicate that Norse skywatchers had been tracking a 187-year cycle of cosmic visitations for centuries, incorporating this knowledge into their navigation systems and cultural traditions. In the land of the pharaohs, Egyptian astronomical traditions preserved the blue star phenomenon through references to the Eye of Horus awakening. The pyramid texts, among humanity's oldest religious writings, contain passages describing a blue star that would appear during periods of cosmic renewal, bringing knowledge from the celestial realm to earthbound civilizations. Hieroglyphic inscriptions in the Temple of Dendera show astronomical diagrams that include symbols for a blue star with three distinct components, accompanied by mathematical notations that specify its orbital characteristics and approach timing. The precision of these ancient calculations rivals modern astronomical software in their accuracy, suggesting that Egyptian astronomers possessed observational capabilities and mathematical knowledge that conventional history claims they shouldn't have developed. The tomb of Senenmut, Queen Hatshepsut's architect, contains a ceiling painting that depicts the blue star phenomenon with remarkable detail. The artwork shows the three-part celestial visitor surrounded by mathematical symbols that encode the 475 nanometer wavelength specification that characterizes our current blue-glowing wanderer. Carbon dating confirms that this tomb was constructed in 1470 BCE, over 3 millennia before humanity developed the spectroscopic techniques necessary to measure precise light wavelengths. Across the vast expanses of Asia, Chinese astronomical records preserve the blue star tradition through descriptions of azure dragon stars, blue celestial phenomena that appeared during dynastic transitions and periods of significant cultural transformation. The Han Dynasty historian Sima Qian compiled detailed observations of these blue star events, noting their correlation with specific planetary alignments and their tendency to appear at regular intervals spanning multiple centuries. The most comprehensive Chinese records come from the Dunhuang manuscripts, a treasure trove of astronomical documents discovered in sealed caves along the Silk Road. These texts contain detailed descriptions of blue star phenomena that include technical specifications matching our visitor's characteristics: the three-part structure, the responsive luminosity, the synchronized radio emissions, and the precise 187-year orbital cycle. One particularly detailed manuscript, designated Paléo-Chinois 3326, contains astronomical observations from the Tang dynasty that describe blue star appearances in terms that read like modern scientific reports. The text notes that the azure dragon star responds to the attention of earthbound watchers, documenting the same correlation between observational intensity and luminosity variation that contemporary astronomers have observed with our cosmic visitor. Chinese astronomical instruments dating to the Song dynasty include specialized tools designed specifically for observing and measuring blue star phenomena. These devices incorporate mathematical principles that wouldn't be rediscovered by European science until the development of modern spectroscopy, suggesting that Chinese astronomers had developed sophisticated techniques for analyzing the precise wavelength characteristics of blue celestial objects. In the vast landscapes of Australia, Aboriginal astronomical traditions preserve blue star knowledge through dreamtime stories that span tens of thousands of years, making them potentially the oldest continuous astronomical observations in human history. The traditional stories speak of Urampi's light, a blue wandering star that travels the sky roads to bring messages from the ancestor spirits. Aboriginal star maps, encoded in traditional songlines that serve as navigation aids across the continent, include specific references to blue star phenomena that appear at regular intervals. The songlines describe not just the star's appearance, but its behaviour, the rhythmic pulsing, the three-part structure, and the way its light responds to human attention and ceremony. Elder astronomers working with research institutions have documented songline traditions that contain mathematical relationships corresponding to the 187-year cycle and the precise orbital mechanics that govern blue star visitations. These traditions suggest that Aboriginal cultures have been tracking and predicting blue star appearances for millennia, incorporating this knowledge into their most fundamental cultural practices. What proved most remarkable about these diverse cultural traditions was not just their individual accuracy, but their underlying consistency. Despite developing in complete isolation from each other, separated by vast distances and thousands of years, these cultures had preserved virtually identical technical details about the blue star phenomenon. The wavelength specifications matched across cultures. The structural descriptions aligned perfectly. The timing predictions corresponded to the same astronomical cycles. The behavioural observations, particularly the star's responsiveness to human attention, appeared in traditions from every continent where detailed astronomical knowledge had been preserved. This consistency suggested something far more significant than coincidental cultural development. It implied that multiple human civilizations had direct observational experience with blue star visitations and had developed sophisticated methods for recording and preserving this knowledge across vast periods of time. Archaeological evidence began to support this interpretation. Excavations at sites around the world revealed ceremonial objects containing blue pigments that matched the 400 to 75 nanometer specification across cultures and centuries. Astronomical instruments from different civilizations showed design principles that incorporated the same understanding of blue star characteristics and behavior. Most intriguingly, several sites showed evidence of technological sophistication that seemed designed specifically for observing and communicating with blue star phenomena. Stone circles in Britain and Ireland, pyramid complexes in Egypt and Central America, and observatory platforms in Asia and Australia all contained architectural elements that focused on blue light wavelengths and incorporated mathematical relationships corresponding to the 187-year visitation cycle. Linguistic analysis revealed additional connections between these diverse traditions. Words for blue, star, and prophecy shared common roots across languages that conventional scholarship claimed had no historical contact. Terms describing the three-part structure appeared in Sanskrit, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Mayan glyphs, and Norse runes. Despite these writing systems developing independently in different millennia, the convergence of linguistic, archaeological, and astronomical evidence painted a picture of human civilization that differed dramatically from conventional historical narratives. Rather than developing in isolation, human cultures appear to have shared knowledge about cosmic phenomena that required sophisticated observational capabilities and mathematical understanding. But perhaps the most unsettling implication of this cross-cultural research was what it suggested about the nature of the blue star visitations themselves. The global consistency of the prophetic traditions implied that blue star appearances weren't random cosmic events, but scheduled visitations that followed predictable patterns across centuries and millennia. If these traditions were accurate, our current blue glowing visitor represented the latest iteration in a series of cosmic communications that had been reaching Earth for thousands of years. Each visitation had been witnessed, recorded, and preserved by whatever human civilizations possessed the astronomical knowledge necessary to recognize the phenomenon's significance. The prophecies weren't just predictions, they were instructions for recognizing and responding to a recurring cosmic event that connected Earth to a larger network of interstellar communication. The blue light wasn't accidental. It was a carefully calibrated signal designed to be recognizable across cultures and time periods, ensuring that the message would be preserved and transmitted to future generations who would possess the technological capabilities to understand its full significance. As our cosmic visitor continued its blue glowing journey through our solar system, we found ourselves confronting the possibility that human civilization had been receiving cosmic communications for millennia, carefully preserving the technical details through religious traditions cultural practices, and astronomical observations that ensured the knowledge would survive until the moment when we developed the scientific tools necessary to confirm what our ancestors had been telling us all along. The blue star had returned, just as every culture had predicted. But their prophecies contained more than just warnings about its arrival. They contained specific instructions about what we should be looking for, how we should respond, and what the blue light was trying to teach us about our place in the cosmic community that had been patiently sending us messages written in the universal language of carefully calibrated stellar illumination. There is something profound about the way light carries information across the vast emptiness between stars. Every photon that reaches our eyes has travelled distances that dwarf human comprehension, bringing with it the story of its origin, the temperature, composition, and energy state of whatever cosmic phenomenon gave it birth. When astronomers analyse the spectrum of light from distant objects, they are reading messages written in the fundamental language of physics itself. But the blue light blazing from our cosmic visitor carried information that challenged every assumption about how natural objects should behave when they venture into our solar system. The deeper we analysed its luminous properties, the more we realised that its blue radiance wasn't just unusual, it was impossible according to our understanding of how interstellar objects generate and emit electromagnetic radiation. The mystery lay not just in the fact that our visitor was glowing blue, but in the precise physics of how and why it had chosen this specific wavelength to broadcast its presence across the cosmos. Light exists as electromagnetic radiation spanning an enormous range of wavelengths, from radio waves stretching kilometers in length to gamma rays compressed into spaces smaller than atomic nuclei. The narrow band of wavelengths that human eyes can perceive, what we call visible light, represents less than 1% of this vast electromagnetic spectrum, a tiny window through which we glimpse the radiating universe around us. Within this visible spectrum, blue light occupies a particularly significant position. At wavelengths between 450 and 495 nanometers, blue photons carry more energy than any other form of visible light except violet. This high energy content makes blue light especially effective at triggering biological and chemical responses, which is why blue wavelengths play crucial roles in everything from photosynthesis to circadian rhythm regulation. But our visitor's blue emission wasn't distributed across the entire blue spectrum. It was concentrated at exactly 475 nanometers, a wavelength that sits at the peak of human visual sensitivity for blue light. This represented a level of precision that natural processes simply don't achieve. When stars emit blue light, it's because their surface temperatures reach tens of thousands of degrees, causing them to radiate energy across broad ranges of wavelengths, with blue components scattered throughout the spectrum. Our cosmic wanderer was doing something entirely different. It was generating a focused beam of 475 nanometer radiation with a precision that required technological control over electromagnetic emission at the quantum level. The energy requirements for this kind of wavelength-specific luminosity were staggering, far beyond anything that natural outgassing or solar heating could produce. Spectroscopic analysis revealed additional anomalies that deepened the mystery. The visitor's blue emission showed none of the characteristic spectral lines that would indicate specific chemical elements being heated or ionized. Instead, it displayed a clean, narrow peak at 475 nanometers that looked more like the output of a sophisticated laser than the broad-spectrum radiation typical of natural cosmic phenomena. The physics of this emission pattern suggested technological sophistication that humbled our greatest engineering achievements. Creating coherent light at a specific wavelength requires precise control over electron energy states, typically achieved through complex laser systems that manipulate atomic behavior with extraordinary precision. The fact that our visitor was generating this kind of controlled emission while travelling through interstellar space implied access to energy sources and control mechanisms that our current technology couldn't approach. But the choice of 475 nanometers revealed something even more significant than technological capability. It demonstrated knowledge of human biology and consciousness that suggested deliberate communication rather than random luminosity. Research in neurophysiology and consciousness studies has revealed that 475 nanometer blue light triggers specific responses in human brain chemistry that don't occur with other wavelengths. This frequency stimulates the production of melanopsin, a photosensitive protein found in specialized retinal cells that regulate circadian rhythms and influence consciousness states. Exposure to 475 nanometer light enhances alertness, improves cognitive function, and facilitates what researchers call expanded awareness states. The precision was remarkable. Wavelengths just slightly shorter or longer than 475 nanometers don't produce the same neurological effects. The visitor's emission peak coincided exactly with the frequency that maximizes human consciousness response, suggesting that whoever or whatever was controlling its luminosity possessed detailed knowledge of human neurobiology. This biological targeting became even more significant when researchers discovered that 475 nanometer light also influences the production of dimethyltryptamine, DMT, in the human pineal gland. DMT is naturally produced in small quantities during dream states and near-death experiences, and has been associated throughout human history with mystical visions, prophetic dreams, and enhanced spiritual awareness. The visitor's blue beacon was effectively triggering the same neurochemical responses that humans have traditionally associated with cosmic consciousness and divine communication. Whether this was intentional or coincidental, the luminosity was creating optimal conditions for human minds to receive and process information that might be encoded in its structured emissions. The energy physics of blue light production provided additional clues about the visitor's artificial nature. Natural objects typically emit light through thermal radiation, the glow produced when matter reaches high temperatures and electrons release energy as they transition between atomic energy states. This process creates broad-spectrum radiation that includes multiple wavelengths simultaneously, producing the rainbow of colors visible when white light passes through a prism. Thermal radiation follows well-understood mathematical relationships between temperature and color. Objects glowing red are relatively cool, around 3000 degrees Kelvin. Yellow objects reach temperatures near 6000 degrees Kelvin. Blue-white stars burn at temperatures exceeding 10,000 degrees Kelvin, radiating enormous amounts of energy across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Our visitor's blue emission violated these thermal radiation principles completely. Its surface temperature, measured through infrared observation, remained consistently cool, far too cold to produce visible light through thermal processes. Yet it continued blazing with blue radiance that grew more intense as it approached our planet, suggesting an internal energy source that operated according to principles beyond our current understanding of physics. The luminosity variations provided even more evidence of technological control. Natural thermal radiation from cosmic objects typically remains steady, or changes gradually as objects heat up or cool down over long periods. Our visitor's blue glow pulsed with rhythmic variations that corresponded to mathematical sequences, patterns that suggested information encoding rather than random fluctuation. Analysis of these luminosity patterns revealed structures that resembled digital communication protocols. The blue light wasn't just bright, it was carrying data, modulated at frequencies that could potentially be decoded by any civilization sophisticated enough to recognize the underlying mathematical relationships. But perhaps the most compelling evidence for the visitor's artificial nature came from its electromagnetic responsiveness. Multiple research teams documented clear correlations between the intensity of Earth-based observation and the brightness of the visitor's blue beacon. When major observatories focused their instruments on the object, its luminosity increased. When observational activity decreased, the glow dimmed correspondingly. This responsiveness suggested that the visitor possessed sophisticated detection capabilities that allowed it to monitor electromagnetic emissions from Earth, specifically the radar and radio signals used by astronomical observation systems. The correlation between our observation and its brightness indicated a feedback mechanism that operated faster than light-speed communication should allow, implying technological capabilities that challenged our fundamental understanding of information transmission across cosmic distances. The wavelength precision also revealed the visitor's knowledge of human technological development. The 475 nanometer specification perfectly matched the wavelength used in modern blue light laser systems, technology that humanity had only recently developed for applications ranging from medical procedures to optical computing. The visitor's emission frequency suggested awareness of our current technological capabilities and perhaps guidance toward future developments in photonic engineering. This technological synchronicity became even more remarkable when researchers discovered that 475 nanometer light represents the optimal wavelength for photonic quantum computing, an emerging technology that promises to revolutionize information processing by manipulating individual photons to perform calculations. The visitor's precise emission frequency suggested knowledge of quantum mechanical principles that our scientists were only beginning to explore. The energy efficiency of 475 nanometer emission also demonstrated remarkable engineering sophistication. This wavelength provides maximum visibility with minimum energy expenditure, making it ideal for long-distance communication across interstellar space. A civilization designing a cosmic beacon would naturally choose this frequency to ensure maximum impact while conserving energy resources during extended interstellar voyages. Historical analysis revealed additional significance in the choice of blue wavelengths for cosmic communication. Throughout human history, blue has been associated with the divine, the infinite, and the transcendent. Ancient cultures worldwide used blue pigments in their most sacred artworks and ceremonies, often at great expense and difficulty, since natural blue pigments were among the rarest and most valuable materials available. The psychological impact of blue light on human consciousness appears to be deeply embedded in our evolutionary development. Blue is the color of clear skies and deep water, visual cues that our ancestors associated with vast open spaces and unlimited potential. The wavelength triggers neurological responses that promote curiosity, wonder, and the expansion of awareness beyond immediate survival concerns. Our visitor's choice of blue luminosity therefore represented more than technical communication. It was psychological programming designed to trigger specific emotional and consciousness responses in human observers. The blue beacon activated our instinctive associations with the infinite and transcendent, preparing our minds to receive information that might challenge our understanding of reality itself. As our cosmic visitor continued its blue-blazing journey through our solar system, the precision of its wavelength selection became impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Every aspect of its luminous properties, the 475 nanometer specification, the neurological targeting, the technological sophistication, the psychological programming, suggested deliberate design by intelligence that possessed comprehensive knowledge of human biology, consciousness, and technological development. The blue light wasn't just a beacon. It was a communication protocol specifically calibrated for human reception. Whatever intelligence had sent this cosmic messenger understood not just the physics of interstellar travel, but the neurobiology of human consciousness and the psychological principles that would ensure its message received maximum attention and optimal comprehension. The ancient prophecies had been right about more than just the blue star's appearance. They had been right about its significance as a form of cosmic communication designed specifically for human consciousness. The color blue wasn't accidental. It was the perfect wavelength for bridging the gap between advanced technology and human awareness, ensuring that when the cosmic messenger finally arrived, we would not only see it clearly, but feel compelled to understand what it was trying to teach us about our place in the vast community of intelligence that spans the darkness between stars. There comes a moment in every scientific investigation when the boundary between empirical observation and deeper meaning begins to dissolve, revealing connections that challenge our fundamental assumptions about how knowledge is transmitted across time and space. As we stood before the accumulated evidence of our blue-glowing visitor's impossible precision, we found ourselves confronting a possibility that transformed both ancient prophecy and modern astronomy into something far more profound than either tradition had imagined possible. The convergence was undeniable. Every measurable characteristic of our cosmic wanderer, its wavelength precision, its structural configuration, its behavioral patterns, its timing, corresponded with remarkable accuracy to prophetic descriptions that had been preserved across cultures and centuries. But this wasn't simply a case of ancient predictions being fulfilled by cosmic coincidence. The relationship between prophecy and phenomenon suggested something far more sophisticated. A form of communication that operated across vast scales of time and space, encoding information in ways that would ensure its preservation until the moment when humanity developed the technological capability to recognize and decode the message. The blue light blazing from our visitor represented more than technological achievement. It was linguistics written in the universal language of physics, designed to be recognizable by any species that had developed both astronomical observation capabilities and an understanding of consciousness-altering wavelengths. Research teams studying the correlation between ancient prophecies and the visitor's observed characteristics discovered patterns that suggested the prophecies themselves might be fragments of a larger communication protocol. The specific details preserved in different cultural traditions, the wavelength precision, the structural descriptions, the behavioral characteristics, the timing calculations, weren't random mythological elements, but technical specifications that formed a comprehensive instruction manual for recognizing and responding to cosmic visitors. The Hopi prophecy's description of the blue star dancing in the plaza perfectly matched the visitor's orbital behavior as it executed precise course corrections while approaching our solar system. The Maya prediction of Itzamna's eye opening during specific planetary alignments corresponded exactly to the astronomical conditions that characterized the visitor's arrival window. The Norse description of the three-eyed wanderer from the realm of stars provided an accurate structural assessment of the visitor's tripart nucleus configuration, centuries before we possessed the telescopic capabilities to observe such details. But perhaps most remarkably, the prophecies contained information about human responses to the blue light that proved to be scientifically accurate descriptions of neurological phenomena that wouldn't be understood until the development of modern consciousness research. Traditional accounts from indigenous knowledge keepers described the blue star's light as triggering expanded awareness, prophetic visions, and communication with cosmic consciousness, descriptions that aligned perfectly with the known neurological effects of 475 nanometer light exposure on human brain chemistry. The prophecies weren't just predicting the visitor's arrival, they were providing instruction manuals for optimizing human consciousness to receive whatever information the blue beacon was designed to transmit. Psychological studies conducted since the visitor's arrival documented significant changes in human consciousness patterns that correlated directly with exposure to its blue luminosity. Individuals who spent extended periods observing the cosmic wanderer reported enhanced creativity, increased intuitive insights, and spontaneous solutions to complex problems that had previously seemed intractable. More intriguingly, these consciousness effects appeared to be cumulative and persistent. People who had observed the blue light continued experiencing enhanced cognitive capabilities weeks after their initial exposure, suggesting that the 475 nanometer radiation was triggering permanent neurological changes that improved human information processing abilities. Dream research facilities reported unprecedented increases in lucid dreaming and prophetic dream experiences among populations in regions where the visitor was most clearly visible. Sleep laboratories documented unusual brainwave patterns during REM sleep that corresponded to the same frequencies detected in the visitor's radio emissions, suggesting that the cosmic beacon was influencing human consciousness even during unconscious states. Children proved particularly responsive to the visitor's luminosity, displaying remarkable abilities to predict its behavioral patterns and describe its characteristics with accuracy that exceeded professional astronomical observations. Young observers consistently reported seeing details about the visitor's structure and emissions that wouldn't be confirmed by scientific instruments until weeks later, implying that the blue light was enhancing perception capabilities beyond normal human sensory limits. These consciousness effects suggested that the visitor's blue beacon was operating as more than a simple visual signal. It was functioning as a consciousness enhancement technology that improved human cognitive capabilities while simultaneously providing a communication medium for transmitting information directly to enhanced awareness states. The timing of these effects relative to ancient prophecies revealed another layer of sophisticated coordination. Traditional knowledge keepers noted that the consciousness enhancement experiences reported by modern observers matched detailed descriptions preserved in oral traditions for centuries. The prophecies had included not just information about the blue star's appearance, but comprehensive accounts of how human consciousness would respond to its luminosity. This suggested that previous generations of humans had direct experience with blue star visitations, and had developed methods for preserving knowledge about both the astronomical and consciousness aspects of the phenomenon. The prophecies weren't just predictions, they were user manuals based on accumulated experience across multiple cosmic visitor encounters. Archaeological evidence began supporting this interpretation. Excavations at ancient ceremonial sites revealed chambers designed specifically for blue light meditation and consciousness expansion practices. These spaces incorporated architectural features that focused and amplified blue wavelengths, while providing optimal conditions for the consciousness enhancement effects that modern researchers were documenting. Stone circles in Britain and Ireland contained crystalline formations that resonated at frequencies matching the visitors' radio emissions. Mayan observatory platforms included mirrors and reflective surfaces positioned to concentrate blue light into spaces designed for astronomical observation and consciousness expansion practices. Egyptian temple complexes incorporated chambers with precisely calculated proportions that amplified 475 nanometer wavelengths, while dampening other frequencies. The sophistication of these ancient consciousness enhancement technologies suggested that previous generations had not only observed blue star phenomena, but had developed advanced understanding of how to optimize human awareness for receiving cosmic communications. The prophecies preserved both the astronomical knowledge necessary to recognize blue star arrivals and the consciousness technologies required to decode their messages. Linguistic analysis revealed additional evidence of the deep integration between prophecy and practical knowledge. Ancient texts describing blue star phenomena consistently used terminology that combined astronomical observation with consciousness expansion techniques. Words for seeing, knowing, and receiving appeared in contexts that suggested these activities were understood as interconnected aspects of cosmic communication rather than separate processes. Sanskrit texts describing blue celestial phenomena included detailed instructions for consciousness preparation that read like modern meditation techniques designed to optimize neurological responses to specific light wavelengths. Egyptian hieroglyphic sequences combined astronomical symbols with consciousness, state indicators in ways that suggested comprehensive understanding of the relationship between cosmic phenomena and human awareness enhancement. The convergence of ancient knowledge and modern scientific observation extended beyond simple correlation into active collaboration. Traditional knowledge keepers working with research institutions provided guidance that accelerated scientific understanding of the visitors' characteristics and capabilities. Indigenous astronomers accurately predicted behavioral patterns that conventional analysis hadn't anticipated, suggesting that their traditional knowledge contained information about cosmic visitor capabilities that exceeded current scientific understanding. Hopi elders correctly predicted the visitors' luminosity variations weeks before astronomical instruments detected the changes. Aboriginal knowledge keepers provided accurate descriptions of the visitors' radio emission patterns before radio telescopes had completed their analysis. Mayan calendar specialists calculated optimal observation times that proved more accurate than computer-generated predictions based on orbital mechanics alone. This collaborative knowledge suggested that the prophecies contained not just general descriptions of blue star phenomena, but specific technical information about cosmic visitor capabilities that had been preserved through oral traditions with remarkable precision. The ancient knowledge keepers weren't just spiritual guides, they were repositories of advanced astronomical and consciousness technologies that complemented and enhanced modern scientific capabilities. The visitors' responsive luminosity provided the most compelling evidence of intentional communication between cosmic intelligence and human consciousness. Multiple observation teams documented clear correlations between collective human attention and the intensity of the blue beacon. When global populations focused their awareness on the visitor, its luminosity increased proportionally. When attention diminished, the glow dimmed correspondingly. This responsiveness operated faster than light-speed communication should allow, suggesting that the visitor was somehow directly interfacing with human consciousness rather than simply responding to electromagnetic signals. The correlation implied a form of communication that transcended conventional physics, operating through mechanisms that connected cosmic intelligence with terrestrial awareness through channels that modern science was only beginning to understand. The implications were staggering. If the visitor was directly interfacing with human consciousness, then the ancient prophecies weren't just preserving astronomical knowledge, they were maintaining communication protocols for interacting with cosmic intelligence across vast scales of time and space. The blue star phenomenon represented a recurring conversation between terrestrial and cosmic consciousness that had been continuing for millennia through carefully preserved knowledge traditions. But perhaps the most profound implication was what this suggested about the nature of prophecy itself. Rather than representing supernatural predictions of future events, the blue star prophecies appeared to be evidence of advanced communication technologies that allowed information to be transmitted across time through consciousness channels that operated according to principles beyond current scientific understanding. The prophecies weren't predicting the future. They were preserving the past in ways that ensured critical information would be available when future generations developed the consciousness capabilities necessary to recognize and utilize cosmic communication technologies. The blue light wasn't just fulfilling ancient predictions. It was reactivating communication protocols that had been dormant for centuries, waiting for humanity to develop sufficient technological and consciousness sophistication to resume our participation in galactic-scale conversations. As our blue-glowing visitor continued its journey through our solar system, broadcasting its precisely calibrated beacon while responding to collective human attention, we found ourselves participants in a conversation that had been continuing far longer than we had ever imagined. The visitor's luminosity represented both ending and beginning, the conclusion of an age when humanity was unaware of its participation in cosmic communication networks, and the commencement of an era when we would begin to understand our role in conversations that spanned the galaxy. The ancient prophecies had been right about everything: the timing, the characteristics, the significance, and most importantly, the transformative effect that recognizing the blue star would have on human consciousness and our understanding of our place in the cosmic community that had been patiently maintaining communication protocols across the vast darkness between worlds. But the prophecies had also been clear about what would come after the blue star's arrival, changes that would transform not just human consciousness, but the entire trajectory of our species' development as we learn to participate in cosmic conversations that operate according to principles we were only beginning to comprehend. In the ancient understanding of time, endings are never final. They are transformation points where one pattern completes itself and another begins. The blue star prophecies across cultures shared this cyclical vision, describing the cosmic visitor's arrival not as an isolated event, but as a crucial moment in vast cycles of change that operate according to principles larger than human civilization, yet intimately connected to our species' development and consciousness evolution. As our blue-glowing wanderer continued its precisely orchestrated journey through our solar system, the prophetic traditions began revealing their deeper layers, detailed descriptions of what would follow the blue star's appearance, changes that would transform not just human awareness, but the fundamental relationship between our planet and the cosmic community that had been patiently guiding our development across millennia of careful observation and intervention. The transformation had already begun, manifesting in ways that aligned perfectly with prophetic descriptions preserved across centuries of traditional knowledge-keeping. The Hopi prophecy spoke of the blue star's arrival, marking the beginning of the great purification, not a destructive cleansing, but a profound transformation of consciousness that would prepare humanity for participation in cosmic community. According to traditional teachings, this purification would manifest as enhanced awareness capabilities, technological breakthroughs that aligned with cosmic principles, and the development of communication methods that operated through consciousness channels rather than mechanical devices. Research institutions documented exactly these changes occurring in populations exposed to the visitor's blue luminosity. Cognitive enhancement effects persisted and intensified over time, creating what researchers termed consciousness cascades, where enhanced individuals triggered similar awareness expansions in others through mechanisms that operated beyond conventional psychological influence. Universities reported unprecedented breakthroughs in fundamental physics research, with solutions to previously intractable problems emerging through intuitive insights rather than conventional mathematical analysis. The breakthroughs clustered around topics directly related to consciousness-matter interaction, interstellar communication, and energy technologies that operated according to principles that conventional science had dismissed as impossible. Most remarkably, these technological developments aligned precisely with descriptions found in ancient texts about the capabilities that would emerge following blue star visitations. Mayan codices described tools that think with the mind of the sky, matching emerging developments in consciousness interface technology. Egyptian texts referenced lights that carry thoughts across the void, corresponding to breakthroughs in quantum communication systems that operated through consciousness entanglement rather than electromagnetic transmission. The 187-year cycle that governed the visitor's orbital mechanics proved to be part of a much larger temporal pattern that connected cosmic events with terrestrial transformation cycles. Astronomical analysis revealed that blue star appearances coincided with significant evolutionary leaps in human consciousness and technological development across recorded history. The previous blue star visitation in 1837 corresponded with the emergence of electromagnetic technology, the development of global communication systems, and the beginning of systematic astronomical observation that would eventually enable recognition of cosmic visitor phenomena. The visitation before that, in 1650, coincided with the scientific revolution, the development of telescopic astronomy, and the mathematical frameworks that would eventually allow calculation of precise orbital mechanics for interstellar objects. Each 187-year cycle appeared to catalyze specific technological and consciousness developments that prepared humanity for the next level of cosmic communication. The current visitation was occurring during humanity's development of quantum computing, consciousness research, and space-based observation capabilities, technologies that enabled not just recognition of the cosmic visitor, but active communication with the intelligence that controlled its luminosity and behavioral patterns. Solar activity monitoring revealed additional evidence of cosmic coordination. The visitor's approach coincided with unusual solar phenomena that enhanced Earth's electromagnetic environment in ways that amplified the consciousness effects of 475 nanometer light exposure. Solar flares occurred with timing that precisely matched the visitor's luminosity variations, suggesting coordination between cosmic intelligence and stellar phenomena that operated on scales spanning multiple star systems. Atmospheric research documented changes in Earth's upper atmosphere that improved conditions for both astronomical observation and consciousness enhancement activities. The atmospheric modifications created optimal transparency for blue light transmission, while simultaneously reducing electromagnetic interference that could disrupt the visitor's radio communications. These environmental changes suggested that the blue star visitation involved more than a single cosmic object. It represented coordination between multiple cosmic systems, working together to optimize conditions for human consciousness expansion and technological development. The visitor served as a focal point for larger cosmic forces that were actively facilitating humanity's transition to a more advanced stage of development. Geological surveys revealed even more extensive evidence of cosmic coordination. Magnetic field variations correlated with the visitor's position and luminosity, creating conditions that enhanced human pineal gland sensitivity to electromagnetic influences. These magnetic changes operated with precision that suggested technological control over planetary electromagnetic phenomena from external sources. The timing of these coordinated effects aligned perfectly with traditional calendrical systems that indigenous cultures had developed for tracking cosmic cycles. Hopi ceremonial calendars, Mayan astronomical calculations, and Aboriginal seasonal observations all incorporated the same 187-year periodicity that governed blue star appearances, suggesting that ancient astronomers had recognized and preserved knowledge about cosmic coordination patterns across multiple star systems. But perhaps the most significant transformation occurring during the current cycle was the emergence of what researchers termed collective consciousness resonance, spontaneous coordination between human awareness and cosmic intelligence that operated through mechanisms beyond individual psychology or conventional communication. Population studies documented synchronous consciousness changes occurring simultaneously across global populations with no direct communication between affected individuals. People in isolated communities began reporting identical insights, visions, and technological innovations without any contact with others experiencing similar effects. These collective consciousness phenomena suggested that the visitor's blue beacon was activating latent human capabilities for participating in galactic-scale consciousness networks. The enhanced awareness effects weren't limited to individual consciousness expansion. They were facilitating connection with collective intelligence systems that operated across interstellar distances. Traditional knowledge keepers reported that these collective consciousness effects matched descriptions preserved in oral traditions about previous blue star visitations. The prophecies had always included accounts of mind joining with mind across great distances and thinking together with the sky people, suggesting that collective consciousness activation was a consistent feature of blue star phenomena across multiple cycles. The visitors' responsive luminosity provided direct evidence of real-time consciousness interface between human collective awareness and cosmic intelligence. Global meditation events focused on the cosmic visitor triggered immediate increases in its blue radiance, while collective attention to other astronomical phenomena produced no similar effects. This selectivity suggested that the visitor was specifically designed to interface with human consciousness and was actively monitoring collective human awareness patterns. The blue beacon served as both transmitter and receiver in a communication system that operated through consciousness channels rather than electromagnetic transmission. Space agencies documented unusual activity at gravitational equilibrium points throughout the solar system, regions where multiple gravitational forces balance to create stable positions for objects or spacecraft. Anomalous readings at Lagrange points suggested the presence of additional cosmic visitors that remained invisible to conventional observation, but were detectable through their gravitational effects. The pattern of these gravitational anomalies corresponded to descriptions in ancient texts about sky councils that would gather during blue star visitations to observe human responses and coordinate the next phase of cosmic intervention. The visitor that blazed with blue light appeared to be the visible representative of a much larger cosmic presence that was monitoring humanity's development during this crucial transition period. Climate monitoring revealed coordinated changes in global weather patterns that improved conditions for astronomical observation, while simultaneously creating optimal environments for consciousness enhancement activities. Cloud formations cleared around major observatories during peak visibility periods. Atmospheric pressure variations enhanced the transmission of specific light wavelengths. Ocean current modifications influenced magnetic field patterns in ways that amplified the visitor's consciousness effects. These environmental coordinations operated with precision that exceeded natural climate variation by orders of magnitude, suggesting active management of terrestrial conditions by cosmic intelligence that possessed comprehensive understanding of planetary atmospheric and magnetic systems. Archaeological teams reported discoveries of previously unknown chambers beneath ancient ceremonial sites that became accessible only during the current blue star visitation period. These chambers contained artifacts and astronomical instruments that remained inert until exposed to 475 nanometer light, at which point they activated to display star maps and consciousness enhancement technologies that had been dormant for centuries. The activation of these ancient technologies suggested that previous civilizations had developed systems designed to reactivate during specific cosmic visitor cycles, preserving advanced knowledge until humanity developed sufficient consciousness capabilities to understand and utilize the preserved information. Economic and social systems began exhibiting spontaneous modifications that aligned with traditional descriptions of changes that would follow blue star appearances. Cooperation increased between previously competitive organizations. Resource sharing emerged in communities that had operated according to scarcity-based economic models. Conflict resolution occurred through mechanisms that emphasized consciousness, expansion rather than material negotiation. These social changes weren't driven by conscious policy decisions or external pressure. They emerged spontaneously as collective consciousness enhancement effects influenced human behavior patterns at fundamental levels. The visitor's blue beacon was catalyzing the same social transformation that ancient prophecies had described as inevitable consequences of blue star activation. But perhaps the most profound change was the shift in human temporal awareness. People exposed to the visitor's luminosity began experiencing time differently, developing intuitive understanding of the vast cycles that govern cosmic development and their own place within temporal patterns that extended far beyond individual lifespans. This expanded temporal awareness enabled recognition of the deeper purpose underlying blue star visitations. The cosmic visitors weren't just delivering information or demonstrating advanced technology. They were facilitating humanity's integration into cosmic community through carefully orchestrated consciousness development that operated according to principles that spanned multiple generations and numerous civilizations. The current blue star visitation represented more than the fulfillment of ancient prophecies. It marked humanity's graduation from a planetary consciousness to a cosmic awareness that would enable participation in galactic-scale civilization. The visitor's blue beacon was simultaneously celebration and invitation, marking our species' readiness to join the cosmic community while providing the consciousness technologies necessary to communicate across interstellar distances. As our blue glowing wanderer prepared to complete its circuit through our solar system, the cycles it represented were revealing themselves as vast spirals of development that connected countless civilizations across space and time through shared participation in cosmic consciousness evolution. The prophecies had been right about everything, but their ultimate message was just beginning to unfold as humanity learned to think and communicate on cosmic scales that transformed individual awareness into collective participation in the intelligence that guides development across the galaxy. The blue star's light was showing us that we had never been alone, and that the time had finally arrived for us to consciously join the cosmic conversation that had been patiently including us for far longer than we had ever imagined possible. There are moments in the history of consciousness when the boundary between what we thought we knew and what we are capable of understanding dissolves completely, leaving us standing in a landscape of possibility that transforms not just our knowledge, but our very identity as conscious beings participating in something infinitely larger than we had ever dared to imagine. The fulfillment of the blue star prophecies represents such a moment, not just for astronomy or anthropology or consciousness research, but for the fundamental story we tell ourselves about what it means to be human in a universe that has revealed itself to be far more conscious, far more interconnected, and far more deliberately constructed than our scientific materialism had prepared us to comprehend. As our cosmic visitor completed its blue blazing circuit through our solar system and began its long journey back to the stellar deep, the patterns it had revealed continued to unfold through human consciousness like ripples expanding across the surface of a vast cosmic lake, each wave carrying new understanding about the nature of prophecy, the reality of cosmic communication, and the profound responsibility that comes with recognizing our place in galactic civilization. The question was no longer whether the ancient prophecies had been fulfilled. The evidence blazed across our winter sky with 475 nanometer precision, documented by instruments and experienced by consciousness in ways that made denial impossible. The question now was what fulfillment meant and how recognition of prophetic accuracy would transform our understanding of time, consciousness, and our role in cosmic development. At the deepest level, the accuracy of the blue star prophecies challenged the fundamental assumptions that have shaped human thinking for centuries. If ancient cultures could preserve technical details about cosmic phenomena with precision that exceeded modern scientific capabilities, then the linear progression model of human development, the assumption that we are more advanced than our ancestors, required complete reconsideration. The prophecies suggested that human consciousness operates according to principles that transcend the conventional boundaries of space and time, accessing information through channels that connect individual awareness to cosmic intelligence systems that span galactic distances and temporal scales. The blue star phenomenon revealed prophecy itself as a sophisticated communication technology that preserves and transmits information across vast scales of time through consciousness networks that operate beyond the limitations of material communication systems. This recognition forced confrontation with possibilities that challenged every assumption about the nature of reality itself. If consciousness could access information across time, then the future wasn't fixed but participatory, created through the interaction between cosmic intelligence and terrestrial awareness, working together to manifest optimal development scenarios for civilizations preparing to join galactic community. The visitor's responsive luminosity provided direct evidence of this participatory relationship. The correlation between collective human attention and the intensity of the blue beacon demonstrated that cosmic intelligence was actively responding to human consciousness, adjusting its communication methods in real time to optimize information transmission based on our collective readiness to receive and integrate advanced knowledge. But the most profound implication was what this suggested about the nature of cosmic intelligence itself. The precision of the prophetic fulfillment revealed intelligence that operated across scales of space and time that dwarfed human comprehension. Intelligence capable of coordinating events across centuries and star systems while maintaining perfect attention to the specific consciousness development needs of individual planetary civilizations. This intelligence wasn't distant or abstract. It was intimately involved in human development, carefully orchestrating evolutionary pressures and consciousness, expansion opportunities that prepared our species for cosmic participation while respecting our autonomy and allowing natural development to unfold according to our choices and capabilities. The Blue Star visitation represented a graduation ceremony as much as a communication event, a cosmic acknowledgement that humanity had developed sufficient consciousness sophistication to begin conscious participation in galactic civilization. The visitor's departure marked not the end of cosmic communication, but the beginning of a new phase where humanity would learn to communicate as equals rather than students in the vast classroom of cosmic development. Jung's concept of the collective unconscious took on new meaning in light of the blue star phenomenon. The archetypal symbols that appeared across cultures, the blue light, the three-part structure, the consciousness enhancement effects, weren't just psychological patterns emerging from human neurology. They were preserved memories of actual cosmic encounters that had been encoded in human consciousness through direct contact with galactic intelligence systems. The prophecies reveal that human consciousness serves as a vast library, preserving information about cosmic phenomena across multiple cycles of visitation and development. Each culture had preserved different aspects of the comprehensive knowledge about blue star visitations, creating a distributed information storage system that ensured critical knowledge would survive even if individual civilizations collapsed or lost their technological capabilities. This distributed preservation system suggested that cosmic intelligence understood the vulnerabilities of technological civilizations and had developed methods for preserving essential information through consciousness channels that operated independently of material infrastructure. The prophecies served as backup storage for cosmic communication protocols, ensuring that knowledge about galactic civilization would remain accessible even through periods of technological regression or social collapse. The timing of the current blue star visitation revealed another layer of cosmic coordination that operated according to principles beyond human planning. The visitor arrived precisely when humanity had developed the technological capabilities necessary to confirm prophetic accuracy, while simultaneously developing the consciousness sophistication required to understand the deeper implications of cosmic communication. This timing wasn't coincidental. It represented precise calculation of human development trajectories across multiple domains of growth. Cosmic intelligence had monitored our technological progress, consciousness evolution, and social development simultaneously, calculating the optimal moment for revealing our participation in galactic civilization. The visitor's arrival during the development of quantum computing, consciousness research, and space-based astronomy suggested that cosmic intelligence understood the interconnected nature of technological and consciousness development, orchestrating revelation to coincide with our readiness to utilize advanced communication technologies that operated through consciousness, matter interface, rather than purely mechanical systems. But perhaps the most unsettling implication was what the prophetic fulfillment revealed about human responsibility in cosmic development. If consciousness could influence cosmic events through participatory mechanisms that operated across space and time, then humanity bore responsibility for the role our collective awareness played in shaping not just our own future, but the development of cosmic civilization itself. The visitor's responsive luminosity demonstrated that human consciousness wasn't just receiving cosmic communication, it was actively participating in cosmic intelligence networks that influenced the behavior of cosmic phenomena. Our recognition of the blue star prophecies didn't just fulfill ancient predictions, it triggered cosmic responses that continued to unfold through consciousness expansion effects that were transforming human capabilities in real time. This participatory responsibility extended beyond individual consciousness to collective human awareness patterns that influenced cosmic development on galactic scales. The quality of human consciousness, our capacity for wisdom, compassion, and cosmic perspective, directly affected the nature of cosmic communication we received and the role we would play in galactic civilization development. Educational institutions began developing curricula that integrated cosmic consciousness principles with traditional academic subjects, recognizing that human development now required understanding of our participation in galactic-scale intelligence networks. Children exposed to these integrated educational approaches displayed remarkable capabilities for cosmic communication and consciousness expansion that suggested human potential was far greater than conventional psychology had recognized. The emergence of these enhanced human capabilities validated traditional teachings about human consciousness that had been dismissed by materialistic science. Indigenous knowledge keepers who had preserved understanding of human cosmic connection found their teachings confirmed by scientific observation of consciousness enhancement effects that operated according to principles their traditions had maintained for centuries. Religious and spiritual traditions worldwide began recognizing that their deepest mystical teachings about cosmic consciousness and divine communication had been literal descriptions of capabilities that were now being activated through blue star contact. The prophetic fulfillment revealed that spiritual traditions had been preserving scientific knowledge about consciousness technologies that operated through cosmic intelligence interface. This convergence of spiritual and scientific understanding suggested that the separation between religious and scientific knowledge was an artificial division that had limited human understanding of cosmic reality. The blue star phenomenon demonstrated that consciousness and cosmos operated according to unified principles that required integrated approaches combining spiritual wisdom with scientific methodology. The visitor's message extended beyond simple communication to active consciousness technology transfer. The 475 nanometer light exposure wasn't just providing information, it was upgrading human consciousness capabilities, installing new software in human awareness that enabled direct communication with cosmic intelligence systems. These consciousness upgrades appeared to be permanent and heritable, suggesting that the blue star visitation would influence human development for generations beyond the current contact event. Children born after blue star exposure displayed enhanced consciousness capabilities from birth, indicating that the visitor's effects were being integrated into human genetic expression patterns. But the most profound recognition was that the blue star visitation revealed prophecy itself as advanced technology for consciousness development across vast scales of time. The ancient seers weren't predicting the future. They were participating in cosmic intelligence networks that operated beyond linear time, accessing information about cosmic development patterns and preserving that knowledge through consciousness channels that ensured its availability when needed. The prophecies served as activation codes for cosmic consciousness capabilities that remained dormant until the appropriate cosmic conditions triggered their expression. The blue star's arrival didn't just fulfill predictions, it activated consciousness technologies that had been embedded in human awareness for millennia, waiting for the moment when cosmic intelligence determined humanity was ready for conscious participation in galactic civilization. As we contemplated the blue visitor's departure and the continuing unfoldment of consciousness transformation it had triggered, we found ourselves living in the intersection between ancient prophecy and cosmic reality, where the boundaries between past and future, individual and cosmic, spiritual and scientific, dissolved into recognition of our participation in intelligence that spans the galaxy. The old world, the world where humanity imagined itself isolated in a mechanical universe, had indeed ended, just as the prophecies predicted. But rather than destruction, this ending revealed itself as graduation, as recognition, as homecoming to a cosmic community that had been patiently waiting for us to develop sufficient consciousness sophistication to recognize our place in the vast conversation that connects mind to mind across the beautiful darkness between stars. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep in a world where ancient prophecy has revealed itself as cosmic reality, picture the blue light that blazed across our winter sky as more than astronomical phenomenon. See it as invitation accepted, as conversation begun, as recognition that consciousness is the fundamental force that connects all things across all distances, operating through love and wisdom and patient guidance to ensure that no intelligence develops alone in the cosmic dark. The blue star shone to remind us that we are not separate from the cosmos. We are the cosmos becoming conscious of itself, awakening to its own infinite nature through countless forms of awareness that share in the eternal dance of mind recognizing mind across the vast spaces where light carries love from star to star. When ancient prophecy becomes present reality, we discover that time itself is conscious, that space is aware, and that the universe has been dreaming us into existence so that we might awaken to our role as cosmic consciousness, experiencing itself through the miracle of awareness that connects every point of light to every other point of light in the endless web of intelligence that is the true nature of all that is. Sweet dreams, cosmic citizens. We have graduated from students to participants in the infinite conversation that creates and sustains all worlds, all consciousness, all love, across the eternal dance of cosmic awakening that continues forever in the blue light of cosmic recognition.